Hello and welcome to another edition of the ParPicks podcast. An exciting week, Michael. We got the Players Championship. Some call it the fifth major. We'll get into it. Why don't you just recap last week? It was the tournament before the Players, and no one played in it. Walk us through what happened.
What do you mean no one played in it?
I just feel like we've been in a quiet couple of weeks here.
Last week was the Arnold Palmer. What are you talking about? We missed 2 weeks. I will apologize to the fans, all thousands of them out there. We did miss last week. I was in a deep pit of despair after um, finishing in the bottom five the past 2 weeks, and so I needed the Arnold Palmer to get out of it. I've done my breathing exercises, so we're back in it. So let's recap the past 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, of course, we had the Cognizant Open or Cognizant Classic. That's why we didn't do a podcast because I can't pronounce the fucking name. Good win to Gunner Golf. That week looks like he had some good picks. He obviously picked the winner, who was Nicholas Echevarria. Also good picks with Shane Lowry, Austin Smotherman. He had a great week that week. I think he won that week by 8 strokes. So pretty dominant week by Gunner Golf. Last week, one of the Hornets winning, so maybe replacing Wibb as our early season front runner. Hornet King taken first with 32 under. He had some good picks this week. Colin Morikawa has been on fire. He picked Daniel Berger in that F tier, who obviously went down to the wire on Sunday. Ashke Batia ended up pulling it out in the playoff, which is pretty great to watch. Kind of funny. I'm looking through it now. Almost no one picked Ashke from just a quick glance, which he's been doing pretty well recently. So maybe we'll see him start trending upward in the pick metrics. Overall, league currently being led with a pretty decent margin by Swiss Demon. Of course, Swiss Demon, our number one finish last year. So he's back where he feels like he belongs. So we're just gonna have to keep knocking him down a peg. Volcanic Dog coming in second by and leading second by 37 points. So nice. NB Ward in third place. He's been solid all year long. He's got 2 second place finishes. He's just been a good good picker so far. And then Sunday Ned in fourth. So Ned, our league, I don't know what Ned's title is, league chairman, vice chairman. Ned's in charge of all this, so it's a little fishy that he's up there, but he's currently in fourth. He's had some good picks, especially after he had a bit of a tough year last season. So it's good to see him up at the top. So fine. I would say I'm in free fall. Last week checked the free fall a little bit. I'm feeling good about this week. So we'll be looking for a bounce back this week. I like the picks that I've got in. Not that I haven't liked the picks the past couple weeks, but I'm getting them with that go get them attitude, Drew.
Yeah, thanks for that recap. And I last week, hard course, and I think really that Daniel Berger was the difference. The top five in terms of tiers were tier D, tier F, tier D, tier C, and tier C. There's a 10-stroke difference between the tier F picks. So if you didn't pick Daniel Berger, you were kind of screwed. And I think there's been a correction this week, and we'll get into it as we talk about the upcoming tournament this week. But Berger's been moved up a couple tiers. Don't know what he was doing in tier F last week, but yeah, the standings changed from last week, but the top two stay the same. And yeah, I mean, everyone loves the Arnold Palmer. I thought Ricky was a strong pick last week too, just to point it out because he loves Arnold Palmer. I don't see. I think I'll forever pick Ricky in this event going forward. But Tia, absolutely the co-story along with Berger. And to your point, hardly anyone picked him. The difference is, Michael, there was a bunch of solid tier D picks. You had Ludwig Oberg finishing third, and you had two other top tens with tier D picks. So it didn't hurt too much to not have Batia when no one else was taking him, but it hurt not to have that Berger pick.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree there. That's where I got a little screwed. I was feeling pretty bad on Thursday. I was bottom tier of myself on going into Thursday evening, Friday morning, but we dug it back a little bit. I actually had no guys get cut this week, which is kind of nuts. Obviously, a couple of my picks kind of shit the bed. Tommy Fleetwood playing some not great golf over the weekend. Scotty Scheffler, what the hell's happened with Scotty? Uh, but he's not looking top form. Of course, now that I say that, he's probably going to come back and win by a million this week. Um, yeah, just some people you would expect to be solid, not being solid in what's a pretty big tournament.
You say pretty big tournament, Michael. Just how big is it a major? Should it be a major?
I was talking about the Arnold Palmer still. But
I think you had moved on.
yes. Okay. Well, we're moving on now. Um, I am of the opinion the Players' Championship should be the fifth, or in could actually take over a fourth major spot. We're going to debate that a little bit here. So, Drew, do you want to lead us off with your against stance?
Now that I know what we're talking about, and yeah, we're on the same page in terms of the tournament because we have not been on the same page this whole pod. Yes, the players, notably not the fifth major, despite its nickname, but the players certainly treated as such. It's got a super high purse like you'd expect to find in the majors. The players want to win it, but I'm going to give the one argument that pertains to my last name, which is people would not continue to say Ricky Fowler is the best player to never win a major if the players counted. And yet, here we are. We're talking Ricky doesn't have a major. Um, I don't think it should be a major because you look at other sports like tennis. Tennis is the one that's closest to golf. You got the Wimbledon and the Masters comparison. You have a U.S. Open for both of them. They got four majors in tennis. Let's have four majors in golf. Um, one sport that I really love is baseball, and this is a golf pod. I'm not going to go into detail about baseball, but we respect the statistics in baseball and the 162 game season. We like the record books. Why are we going to give players an extra chance to go win an extra major? If we had five majors and Scotty Scheffler or some other young guy was to come along and break the major championship record, how many people are going to want an asterisk next to that player's name because he won more than Jack, won more than Tiger, but he had 20% more opportunities than they did throughout their careers. It affects history. It affects legacy. It takes us out of sync with tennis, which is like a very similar sport in terms of how people watch and engage with it. Um, and the players is cool. The players is great to have as its standalone event here in the calendar, and the players can treat it as seriously as they want as a major. I just don't see the reason why we need to give it that extra name, that extra status when it already is a great event as it is.
Yeah, I totally understand. My point back to that would be what we've considered as major tournaments in golf has always been a little bit arbitrary. It wasn't until Arnold Palmer came out and said the Masters, the British Open, the US Open, and the PGA are the modern majors that those are the four majors that we think of. Before that, we had the British Open, the US Open, the US Amateur, and I believe the Western Open was the fourth original major. So the way I see it is that what are majors is always evolving. Um, I think anyone out there is going to agree that of the four current majors, the PGA Championship is the weakest of those. It's different place every year. It doesn't have the grittiness of the U.S. Open. It doesn't have the classic feel of the Open Championship, British Open. I mean, uh, I'm an Augusta fanboy, so it's not Augusta. The PGA Championship or the PGA, PGA Championship has always kind of been out there for the fourth major. I think that the Players Championship, which is a championship that is run by the tour, by the players, for the players, is a stronger contender than the PGA Championship. The PGA Championship, of course, is run by PGA of America. which is essentially club pros. Why do we have the major that's run by the club pros? I don't think it makes sense. TPC Sawgrass is an excellent golf course. Players love it. If you ask just about any player on tour, I will say it's probably a top three golf course that they enjoy playing. I know Scotty said that he loves that there's different shots on every hole. On the first hole, you have to hit a draw. Second hole, you have to hit a cut, that sort of thing. It's a great test of golf. I think there's something fun to be said about playing the same tournament or the same venue every year. Obviously, the Masters is currently the only major that we have that. It's just, it's a great tournament. You get the best field every year. Guys show up, they want to win it. With what you were saying about um, kind of history of who's won it, that sort of thing. Bear with my thing here. I had an interesting little stat that I found earlier. Of course, we're recording on my phone, so it doesn't work. The Players has been played, or sorry, the Players has been played 51 times. There's 42 different winners. 30 of those winners are other major champions, and 8 of the 12 who have not won a major championship had become runner up in another major. What I'm getting at there is that the Players definitely has the resume that it needs to be considered a major. If it's the fifth major, if it's another fourth major, who's to say? But that's my stance. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, yeah, you know what? It's hard to disagree with really any of your points, and I go back and forth in my mind if I like rotating venues versus single host venue or like single venue hosts for major championships. Augusta is cool, obviously, and then with the British Open or the Open Championship rotation, I think that's awesome because it really is the British Open as we know it, and because that's because it rotates all across England, Scotland,
Hmm.
Ireland. I don't think Wales has a course, but maybe they should. Maybe in the future. Um, I, I think if you wanted to elevate the Players to major status and take away the PGA Championship, I think I'm more cool with that because you retain having four major championships. Um, I will say it is cool though when like the other another thing in the golf news. Well, since we've done our last podcast was Toledo, Ohio gets a major. Inverness Country Club in Toledo announced as the 2045 U.S. Open. Sorry,
Iverness is how it's
Iverness.
pronounced, I believe.
It probably is. It's been so long posted there that I haven't watched any coverage of it in my lifetime. So how was I supposed to know? But the fact is, it's in Ohio, and that's cool. And I kind of like giving a chance to have that major championship feel at multiple places. Does anyone really think Florida deserves an every year major? That state kind of blows in my mind, but TPC Sawgrass is a great course. And the 17th hole is maybe the most famous hole in golf. It certainly feels worthy of a major championship. So I agree with all your points, Michael. I don't want to add a fifth major, but I'm fine throwing out the PGA Championship if the U.S. Open is going to continue. I know it's a smaller selection of sites, but at least it rotates regions of the country a little bit. If that's the rotating major, and then we have Augusta and we have Sawgrass, which is a great course, I'm down with it.
Cool.
Let's talk about who to pick this week. What are some trends? What do we think?
Yeah. A tier's gonna be an interesting one this week. We obviously only have Scotty and Rory. It's tough to put anyone else in A tier. I mean, Fleetwood's been up there, but he hasn't been performing very well, so it's tough to have anyone besides the two big dogs. Scotty's obviously been pretty cold recently. Not been playing super hot, just very unscotty like golf. He's not hitting those insane pin high shots that we expect from him. But then we have Rory being injured. So Rory obviously didn't finish out the weekend last week. Only the second time he's ever withdrawn from a tournament, which is insane. I was reading a little bit today. He will not be showing up till Sawgrass until Wednesday this week. so wants to stay home, get a little bit more recovery at home. So it'll be interesting to see if he can show up and defend his title from last year, or what happens there. Moving down, and let me pull up my picks so I can get a little bit better idea. Some solid tier B picks. I mean, all the big names that you would recommend or that you would notice. Jake Knapp's in B, which I'm not so sure about. Um, I don't believe he played last week. He withdrew before the cognizant. I probably wouldn't pick Jake Knapp this week, but everyone else in B tier has a chance. Cameron Young, Hideki's been pretty hot. Si Woo's been hot. Matt Fitzpatrick's always pretty good. Colin Morikawa, who is obviously on fire, and then Tommy Fleetwood's been tearing it up recently. Um, any thoughts on your C tier picks? I know you were completing your picks right before we jumped on here.
Yeah, you got a couple of your Oklahoma State Cowboys. I'm interested in both Hovland and Fowler. Again, mentioned Fowler's won this event before. I think Hovland has a strong history in this tournament. Brooks Koepka also, we find him in our C tier. Those are some of the more interesting names to me. Shane Lowry is a contender really anywhere. I haven't looked at the weather forecast. He's typically my go-to pick if I look like Wednesday evening and I'm like, oh, we're in for a storm this weekend. I'm going to go pick up Lowry. So we'll see. And then Akshay Bhatia is there coming off that victory last week. So a lot of interesting C tier picks. Whereas tier D, Michael, to me is kind of an obvious one because it's just going to be a repeat of last week. But anyone else besides the Burger Man stick out to you in tier D?
I've been liking Minwoo Lee recently. He's been playing well. I don't know why. I've always had a feeling that Minwoo might not win a lot, but he might win some big tournaments. So I feel like this could be a week he does well. Jason Day's been looking like he's in good form. I don't know if he. I haven't looked at his history here at Sawgrass. Sahith Thagala had a really good week last week. He Satsune has been hot all to the beginning of the season. Yeah, some good picks out there in D, and obviously D and Downs where you differentiate yourself from the field. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. How Swiss Demon is very good at just getting his lower tier guys through the cut. I don't know how he does it, but that's where your money's made.
I got one comment on tier D too, and I feel like every time a big tournament pops up, I see Adam Scott's name up on the leaderboard. Either he has a reduced touring schedule these days because he's been around forever, but I don't know how that man is ranked 50th.
Because
Um,
he's freaking good at golf, dude.
I do, but no, sorry, the opposite. I'm like, I don't know how he's not higher up. I think Adam Scott sneaky good pick in tier D this week.
Yeah, and keep in mind he also started the season ranked around 100. I think he was kind of on the verge of not having a tour card except for the exemptions that he already has. Adam Scott, always a good pick. I mean, he's what, 42 or something like that, still driving the ball 300 yards. It's insane. You can do a lot of good with your golf when your swing looks like his.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to watch his swing for, and maybe not his putter though.
No, yeah. You never really can fully get behind a guy that uses the long putter. It's just ugly.
What any lower tier guys that you got your eyes on? I'll say one name. Tier E Ryan Fox it seems to be very consistent. I think in the lower tiers, you're really trying to avoid guys who like are going to blow up your score by getting cut. And I'm not saying Ryan Fox makes every cut, but I feel like for a lower tier pick week in week out, he's usually a safe floor guy. So I like Ryan Fox. Anyone sticking out to you?
I was just taking a quick glance there, and I'm of course not going to give away all my picks, but tier G, we've got Tony Finau. Tony hasn't done a whole lot in the past couple years, but he's one of those guys on tour that everyone likes. He has perennial veteran status. So he's one of those guys I could see just kind of randomly getting hot one week, jumping out there and having a good week. Um, I don't know for sure. I'm assuming he's played Sawgrass a lot. Um, I'm sure he's been in the players quite a few times. So could be one of those veterans that just kind of jumps out and bites you when you're not expecting it, you know?
Tony's obviously a name that people are going to know, and when you get down to those lower tiers, maybe not everyone knows every name. So I definitely expect to see some Finau picks. I was just looking at his history. It's not a great history, but you could probably do worse than Finau in tier G. Um, yeah, I don't like you. I don't want to give away all my deep sleepers here because that's where these events are kind of won and lost from a ParPicks perspective. Um, what are you? What's your prediction for the winner? You think Scotty's going to take it home, or are you taking Scotty or the field?
You got to take the field. But now that I'm saying that, I mean, maybe Scotty figures out what he's been looking for this week. I mean, Scotty's obviously still the betting favorite. I mean, you can't really bet against Scotty, but until he seems to figure something out, you never know. I mean, shoot, he could go out there and shoot 62 on Thursday, and then all of a sudden Scotty's back and he wins a couple majors again this year. So it's tough to say. I mean, I'll probably be picking Scotty over Rory this week. I'll give that pick away, but I think I got to take the field this week against Scotty, just based on the recent history.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Hard to take just one player, but at the beginning of the year, I think first 4 or 5 tournaments, we all would have picked Scotty for those over the field. So
Yeah, definitely. And keep in mind, Scotty's already won this year too, which we're talking about how bad he's playing, and he won his first event out. So that says
exactly,
a lot.
yeah. You want to wrap this up with some golf advice, and we can go home?
Yeah, definitely. Golf advice for the week: wear sunscreen. I was out there this weekend. Started to get my first. I didn't get fully burnt. I will say that, but started to get the first pinkness when you're a pasty white boy like me. You got to be careful about. So yeah, wear your sunscreen. Wear your big floppy hat, even though you look like an idiot. Joel Damon made it cool, so you can wear it now. Wear your sun sleeves, and that's my advice for the week. Yeah,
I love it. It'll be all the more important as we get into spring and summer here. The sun starts to come out. I don't know where everyone in this league lives, but I imagine a lot are in Ohio, and yeah, hopefully you guys get some good weather here with daylight savings. When we started recording this at 7 o'clock, it was like 7:30 Central, and it was still light out, and that's just awesome. I'm so excited about it.
yep. I know. I was at the course till about 7 something today, just getting my practice in, but it's so great.
All right. Well, good talk to you, buddy. We'll see you all on ParPicks podcast next week, and hopefully, all good luck to all your picks and enjoy watching. It's a fun course.
Thanks. Talk to you next week.
Well, I dig a little down about an hour ago. Took a look around, they went with a wind blow. With a little girl in a Hollywood bungalow. Are you a lucky little lady in the city of light? Or did you know the lost